Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining today. I'd like to begin today's webinar by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands in which we meet today. I'm joining you from Ngunnawal country. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. My name is Ashley and I'll be your facilitator for today's panel session entitled Life as an ANU Law Student. So I'd like to now introduce our panel. From our amazing student services team, we have Nicholas, who is a senior student administrator, and he's here to help answer questions regarding the programs and our course offerings. So hello, Nicholas. We have two current ANU Law students and one recent graduate of ANU Law. Peyton is in her fourth year of study, undertaking a double degree in Bachelor of Laws and Arts. She's focusing on Chinese and Japanese. She is a mentor with the ANU Law Peer Assisted Learning Program, known as PAL. Originally from the Gold Coast, she joins us today from her home in Canberra. David is in his third year of study, undertaking a double degree in Bachelor of Law and Arts, focusing on economics, and he is the president of the ANU Law Student Society. Originally from Melbourne, he joins us from his home there today. And Molly has just graduated from the Juris Doctor program, having also previously completed an ANU Bachelor of Asia Pacific Studies. She's originally from Sydney and has recently moved back there for a grad job. Congrats on that, Molly. So I've prepared some initial questions for the panel, which we hope will set the tone and get us started off. Then we have allocated some time to answer questions from you, the audience, which we will read from the Q&A chat function. We'll aim to answer these questions as succinctly as possible to allow time for more questions. So let's begin. So you all come from different cities across Australia. Why did you choose to study law at ANU? Peyton, do you mind starting us off?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, ANU is very renowned for its law program and also for languages, which is what I'm studying in my arts degree. That was a really big factor. I also really love Canberra, so I was really excited to kind of move away from the Gold Coast and study over here.
Excellent. David, how about you?
Yes, so I'm originally from Melbourne and did, grew up in Melbourne, did all my schooling in Melbourne, and I decided to sort of move to Canberra to study at ANU because, as Peyton mentioned, it does have a very well-renowned law program. But another thing that really enticed me was the double degree program, which allows some flexibility to explore different sort of interests that I had at the time. So that was economics and international relations in my arts degree, and so I was able to combine that with ANU Law, which I think has been, a key reason why I decided to come to ANU to study what I'm studying now.
Excellent, thanks, David. And Molly, I know that you did come originally to do your undergraduate in the Bachelor of Asia Pacific Studies. Feel free to tell us why you pursued that, but also why you stayed on to do your JD.
Yeah, so I just finished my undergraduate degree and I was thinking about next steps. Obviously, I'd sort of started to build a life for myself in Canberra. And I was actually already working in a law firm just as a casual assistant. And so I was thinking more and more about actually continuing and doing law as a postgraduate degree. And the choices were between ANU and Melbourne, but ultimately I thought that ANU is renowned for having such a good law program that I decided why move.
Yeah, excellent. So all of you coming from different cities, what was it like moving to Canberra and what's it like studying in Canberra? Feel free to start us off, Molly, having been an expert now for a while.
Well, I liked it because it was just such a new experience all around, sort of coming from Sydney and sort of moving into that college environment for me at first, and then after that moving into a share house. It was really refreshing all around. You just kind of got to set your own boundaries and set the goals that you wanted to achieve and be able to get out into a new environment and explore a new city. And so all of it was really exciting and just wonderful.
Excellent. David, how about you? How'd you find it when you moved here and what's it been like studying in Canberra?
Yeah, so I think when I moved here in 2018, it was so straight out of high school. So I think it was a bit of a intimidating experience initially, but I think at ANU what's really great is that there's so many support services available. At college, for example, you have a big community where I think Initially, I think it's a bit scary, but for me personally, but I think having that experience at college really gave me that sort of confidence, as well as a strong community to be around, and I guess metaphorically build a new family here in Canberra. But yeah, since then, I've really enjoyed studying Canberra. Canberra's, one thing that's different to Melbourne and Sydney, I suppose, as well, is that everything's just a bit smaller, so everyone's closer by. It's easy to meet up with friends, and that aspect is something that I've really enjoyed since moving to Canberra.
Excellent. And Peyton, how about you?
As you know, I'm originally from the Gold Coast, and I started university in semester 2, which was winter in Canberra. So the weather was a big adjustment for me personally. That being said, I'm an avid skier, so I loved the proximity to the snowy mountains. It's very exciting. Other than that, it was just a really accepting environment. I started out living at Uni Lodge, so thankfully there were lots of other students who were kind of going through the same thing that I was. A big chunk of the student kind of population at ANU are from, be it domestic or international. We come from lots of different places, so it was really easy to kind of find a network of friends who were also kind of had just moved out of home and were very young. So yeah, I found it to be a really accepting environment.
Yeah, excellent. And so Peyton and David, you both are involved in some student organizations. As far as, for students moving to Canberra, coming to ANU to study, can you tell us a bit about those programs, and specifically what it offers for law students? Being in Canberra, the national law school in the nation's capital, what type of activities do you organize and pull from as part of the LSS and PAL? David, did you want to start off?
Yeah, of course. So I'm currently the president of the ANU Law Student Society, and it's the biggest society on campus. And essentially what we do is represent ANU law students, as the name would suggest. But we do a lot more than that. And importantly, we offer support services as well as ways to enrich the law student experience. And coming to Canberra, I think sometimes you meet different people from college, for example. But I think one thing that we offer specifically for law students is a way to meet people who might you might be working with in the future, friends that you can go through law school together, to stay up late at night answering problem questions or your assignments and things of that nature. But so that's what we sort of do, is offer that way for law students to build a strong relationship with their cohort as well as with other students. And in terms of what services we sort of provide, we try to, we're multifaceted. We work on careers events for people who want to further their career. We also offer events that focus on issues in the law. So things like, we just had recently the LGBTQIA plus panel in law, where we had, the partner of Herbert Smith Freehills come in to talk about his experience being LGBTQ and working in the law, and how challenges he faced rising to partnership. And I think things like that, sort of just a small snapshot of what we do here at ANU.
Yeah, excellent. And Peyton, so the peer assisted learning program, what kind of activities do you run supporting students, particularly for law?
So it's a really great program. I'm currently a senior mentor in the program. So I've been doing it for about 1.5 years. And essentially we offer weekly sessions for first year law students. Later year students are more than welcome to join, but it's primarily targeted at those who are just starting out. And we kind of teach you the soft skills that you don't really learn in your lectures and tutorials. So lots of skills like legal reading, legal writing, how to prepare for exams. They're just some of the topics that we address. And it's a really great space for students to come if they have questions they don't necessarily feel comfortable asking in lectures or tutorials. You have access to a group of later year law students who have kind of been through what you're going through at the moment. And they can offer a lot of advice and kind of concrete legal skills to help you for your degree.
Excellent. Nicholas, kind of going on to that, what kind of, I guess, services would you say from the student administration side, just with students who are coming to Canberra and studying ANU law for the first time, what kind of activities do you guys run specifically?
Well, for us, we actually help out with actually PAL as well. We were supposed to do, for example, pizzas on the lawns, which has been postponed due to
No.
COVID-19. But yes, we have activities that we try to organize throughout the year. Yeah, and then it's a way of meeting academics as well outside the normal coursework and the normal course, more setting, less formal setting, and also meet other people. So yeah, we assist with that, but we also do a lot of activities throughout the year, such as like the induction session in the beginning of your semester before you actually start studying. So you know what is how to study at ANU, what is ANU, how to prepare and get ready for your first week of classes. And we also do all other activities like information sessions on internships and clinics and all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to keep you in the loop as much as possible.
Yeah, great. We've kind of turned into a question I was going to bring about later, but I'll bring it now. So tell us about some of the internship options, the programs, and clinical courses on offer for ANU Law students specifically.
Yeah, so we actually highly encourage people to do practical experience. So for us, we have two ways you can do it. You can either do it through a clinic or an internship. So there's a bit of a difference between the two. A clinic, it's more something that, well, essentially what you do is that you do work with clients at a legal service work. So it's real work at any organization that we have partners with. So we have a few. They're clinics some more in groups, so you're not by yourself. So it's a little less intimidating, I would say. The convener usually goes with you as well to your clinic, depending on which clinic you are doing. And you debrief each week. It's a little bit like a course. So you actually do meet with your convener outside the clinic and you debrief what happened during the week. If you have questions, that kind of stuff, that happens as part of the clinic. There's a very limited amount of places that's available. And most of our clinics are more like in ACT, whilst internships a bit different in terms that it's the same kind of thing in terms that it is legal work that you do. However, it is individual. And you have a research paper that is attached to it. So you're pretty much by yourself. The host actually is the one who supervises you. You do have a convener, but you don't meet with a convener on a weekly basis. It's more to supervise your research paper part of it. However, our partner internships, we have a limited amount of places, but we have a few in Canberra. Most of it actually are outside Canberra and overseas. And we have a lot of scholarships also attached to these internships. So if you are, for example, you get a place to go to the Netherlands and do an internship there, you're also going to get a scholarship at the same time. So to help you pay for your fees and all the costs associated with that. So we have a few. So we have Asia, Washington, DC, Netherlands, and London that are our main scholarships that we and partner internships that we have. But you can also organize your own internship, which is what we call a self-arranged internship. And then in that case, it's just a matter of finding a place that wants to take you as an intern and have someone over there at that host institution that will supervise you while you are doing an internship. And here we will link you with a convener. So that's the kind of practical experience that we do offer here.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Nicholas. And those are for credit, is that right?
Yes, exactly. So you actually do that, and once you finish, you do the assignments and everything linked to you either clinic or internship, you do receive credit at the end of it.
Okay. And can you do more than one in your degree? Or?
You can do more than one clinic. You can do more than one internship. You can only do one internship.
Okay. Right.
But you can do a clinic and an internship.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I believe that David and Peyton, you guys have had an opportunity to undertake internships during your studies. Can you tell us where you've interned and what you focused on? Maybe Peyton, if you could tell us.
Yep, so I'm actually doing an internship this semester. So I'm only about 5 weeks in, but I'm interning with the National Judicial College of Australia. And we're working kind of with them on their better judgment writing program. So essentially they're helping judges to make their judgments more accessible to a wider range of people by using kind of plain English. So essentially myself and about 6 other students are actually designing an app that can be used by the college. Yeah, so that's sort of the point of the internship.
Oh, that's amazing. David, how about you?
Yes, so I think I've done some external internships from ANU Law, but ANU Law provides some great opportunities to meet people who would, who are keen to take on interns. But this isn't so much for credit, so I won't, go into too much depth into that. But what I can say is I am intending to apply for the law internship for semester 1, 2021. And what I'm sort of interested in, and why I think why ANU Law is really great for this sort of thing, is they have lots of partnerships with government departments. So if you're really keen to work in government, and you're keen to see how legislative drafting and all that sort of thing that goes on behind the scenes, I really fingers crossed hope to get into an internship at the Attorney General's department.
Excellent. Well, David, that's okay. You could tell us about those other experiences you've had for not credit, or not for credit, sorry. And I guess maybe taking on those opportunities while you were studying, was that feasible, and how did that work for you?
Yeah, of course. So just to clarify, this internship experience was, I think, through the law school. I think they received it from an external organization called the Global Pro Bono Bar Association, which, in the name, they work on pro bono matters around the world, and they're aiming to, take on matters that some pro bono programs in large corporate law firms would otherwise, not take on. So I guess what slips through the cracks. And I just started, I think, 2 weeks ago, so it's been really good. I've learned a lot about different challenges facing legal ethics, and how we can, as lawyers and aspiring lawyers, work towards combating injustices that we identify in our professional life, as well as something that we are passionate about. So in terms of balancing that, I personally have I also work at the same time as study, and also undertaking this internship. And what I found in terms of ANU law, and balancing that with ANU law, is that there are times where there'll be more workload in studies, but there's also times where there is less work, especially during the off seasons where there's no exams and assessments. So I think for those who are looking to come to Canberra, thinking of working, thinking of interning, while studying, I think it's definitely a feasible option to do. I think it's a very worthwhile experience as well. It gives you a chance to see how you can apply your degree and where it might potentially take you, because at the moment the internship supervisor is a lawyer in Singapore, working in international arbitration, and he's been so super helpful, but also being able to talk to him and seeing what that line of work, working internationally in cross-border disputes, is something that I think you don't get from just studying. So I think that's another worthwhile, just anecdotally, a reason why it's worthwhile doing that.
No, that's great. And I think we're really excited that despite the current climate and everything going virtual, that there are more opportunities popping up that are international, and that because everyone's online, that there's more feasibility to actually work and partner with other institutions and organizations globally for work and learning opportunities. So I'm really glad that you were able to take advantage of that opportunity. And I believe, Molly, you worked throughout your JD program for, I think, the entire time. Was that feasible? And how did you sort of manage and balance your studies? Did you have opportunities to do kind of part-time or evening classes?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the reasons that I actually chose ANU was the fact that I needed to work either 5 or 4 days a week, so full-time pretty much, or part-time throughout the entirety of it. I didn't really have an option in that regard, and ANU was really attractive to me, the JD program, because generally there were evening classes that were available, which meant that I was able to sort of give my attention to both as required. It was really accommodating. Speak to the lecturers if required, but generally there was always an option, be it sort of on a lunchtime or immediately after work. And so you sort of do need to make sure that you're planning ahead and that you're prioritizing, because obviously, university is a commitment, and if you want to, you need to obviously focus, especially with a law degree. But as long as you forward plan about it, I found it manageable ultimately. But working with the lecturers to make sure that they're aware of your circumstances and, could accommodate accordingly was really beneficial for me.
Excellent. Sorry, Molly, you also did a graduate research unit as part of your degree. Can you tell us a bit about what that is, and what kind of experience that gives you, what you focused on, and I guess sort of the extra element that brings to your normal curriculum and studies.
Yeah, absolutely. So the graduate research unit is an option available to JDs. It's essentially a mini thesis, so it's worth 2 subjects worth of units. I believe there's an undergraduate equivalent that's available as well. But basically, this just gives you the opportunity it's done in your later years of university, and it gives you the option to take an area that you might not have had a chance to study directly, but you want to know more about, and just go and do a research paper on it effectively. So you approach someone about being your supervisor. I worked with Dylan Van Papalai, and you essentially just develop this thesis question and get to focus on it for 6 months, and eventually you produce a research paper of 12 to 16,000 words. So I found it really beneficial because I had an interest in intellectual property, that I'd done a course in intellectual property, but there was an area of it that I hadn't really focused on previously that I thought was really interesting. And so I ended up writing my paper about the international regime for patent law and how that was affecting the food security in developing countries, which, I was really interested in. And, something as niche as that, you don't necessarily always get a chance to focus on in depth throughout a degree. So I found it really beneficial in that regard, that you have so much autonomy about what you can look at, and, who your supervisor is. That is just too good an opportunity for me to pass up.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks for that. Nicholas, do you have anything to add on sort of the graduate research units, or sort of those extra, I guess, activities that students can do as part of the degrees, whether it's in the postgraduate or undergraduate programs?
Well, yeah, it's just like Molly said, essentially you can do your research on about anything related to law that you want to. Obviously you will have to find a supervisor. There is, on our website, we do have a list of all the academics and conveners that we have here in the college, and which area they specialize in. So the first step is obviously you kind of approach a supervisor. You can have an informal conversation just to see if that's even feasible or not, what you want to do your research on. And if they are interested and have capacity to take you on board, then you actually do a kind of a proposal of what you want to do research on. And yeah, essentially just take it from there. And if they're happy and everyone's, yep, okay, all good, then you can basically start. So you can do your research on anything, really. So there are a lot of flexibility, and it is available also for undergraduate students that are part of the Bachelor of Laws honors program as a super research paper, which is the same kind of thing as the graduate research unit. Yeah.
And Nicholas, is that also so students who are doing a double degree combination with law and something else, can they also still fit that graduate research unit in, or is it?
Yes, they can. Yes, it will count as 12 units, so it is 2 standard courses. But yes, okay. They definitely can.
Excellent. And just on those double degrees, we have 2. Both Peyton and David are completing those, or are undertaking double degrees with law and arts. What are some other popular degree combinations that students would do with law?
We have a lot of international relations, and we have a lot of the ones with the CAP degree. Sorry, it escapes me.
Okay. That's all right.
The Asian Pacific ones, more kind of combinations. We not so much. A lot with arts as well, in literature, which I think is what Peyton is doing. That's basically the top 3 that we see a lot. We have a few science, but to be honest, sometimes it's hard to match a science and law. No, it's not impossible, but just because of the commitment that science requires you to have in terms of times on campus and in labs with law is a bit sometimes hard to match. So it's probably easier with, for example, a literature or languages degree. And law, it's a very easy to combine the 2. But yeah, basically everything is possible as long as it's not an honors degree in the other degree, because you are already doing honors in law. So you can't have, for example, an engineering law, you can't never combine that because it would be too long, and also it's too involved.
That's a very good point to make, that given this is already an honors degree, it's built in, you can't do it without the honors component, that you should consider that if you are doing a double degree option. That's really handy. Peyton and David, how have you found doing a double degree? Is it tough? Does it feel like double the work? Maybe Peyton, I'll let you respond first.
Yeah, no worries. I think there's a bit of a common misconception that, yeah, a double degree is double the work and you're going to be doing 8 subjects a semester. But you essentially do the same number of subjects as everyone else in a normal semester. For me, my double degree just makes my whole degree a year longer. I absolutely love it. It kind of breaks up, law is quite a sort of reading heavy intellectual subject. So I really like having the languages just because they're at the complete opposite end of the spectrum. So it gives me something a little bit different to focus on. So yeah, I absolutely love the combination.
And how about you, David? How are you finding it?
Yeah, so yeah, I completely echo what Peyton said about that misconception that, you know, double degrees, double the work. It's certainly not the case. In terms of how I found it, I think doing a double degree, one of the advantages that I found in my experience has been that, not to say that law doesn't have that experience to go overseas and, you know, do exchanges. It certainly does. I think an arts degree, in my experience, has a breadth of courses that are a bit broader than law. So, you know, you can take an art elective in languages. You can take it in, I don't know, literally anything, economics, international relations, anything. And so that has given me the flexibility to study in London and Japan. And it's all, you know, it's something that I think, something I did through arts, through that flexibility of having art electives that span literally any discipline. And I think personally, that's, you know, one thing I've really enjoyed about doing a double degree has been that, that aspect of studying overseas.
Yeah, so London and Japan. Peyton, you've studied overseas as well. Where did you study and through which program?
So I've done a couple of overseas courses. One of them is like what David was speaking about before. So through my arts degree, I studied in China, just did an elective over there, which was great. And then in 2018, semester 2, I went over to Singapore and did a straight law exchange. So I did 4 courses over at the National University of Singapore. And that was a phenomenal experience, just because it gave quite an international element to my degree that I hadn't really had before. And it helped me to kind of see how law could be applied overseas and in different kind of contexts. Yeah, it was a very enriching experience, and I definitely recommend anyone that's ends up studying law at ANU does an exchange at some point.
Excellent. Nicholas, what are some other popular, well, not popular, but what are the offerings for offshore study and studying abroad that are specific to the law school?
Well, yeah, so there's some that are generic that you can still take as part of your law degree, and some are just specific to law. So the more generic ones are for, I would say, global programs, which is the exchange program that we're just talking about. That's offered to everyone. At law, you do a law elective if you want to count it towards your law degree. So you can't use it for your compulsory courses, but you can still do an elective, and that's what Peyton was saying is a perfect way to add something that we don't teach here, but you are interested in. So find another university across the world that actually teach something, an area of law that you're interested in, and just enroll into and apply to go on exchange over there. So that's a good opportunity to do that. There's also independent short courses that you can do overseas. Those ones are 2 to 6 weeks. There are some that are already organized through global programs again. You can also organize yourself if you want to do independent studies overseas. That's also an option. The ones that are more specific for law degree, we have a few courses. We have the Alabama course, Geneva, Kyoto, and Myanmar, which that one is a clinic as well. So these are 4 courses that are done during either the winter or the summer breaks. So usually when you're doing nothing, you can just do a 6 units or course, and also do an opportunity international, which is an international course, which is always good and interesting. We also have, obviously, like I talked before, our internships, which are some, and most of them actually are overseas. So it's also an opportunity that we have to study overseas. But yeah, that's basically, there's so many options. And even if you're not into, like, so you can always do someone yourself if you organize it yourself, and global programs can help you as well with that. It's just, it's a bit more expensive if you do it yourself, but there's also that option.
Right, and I'm sure that right now that's, well, we all know that those aren't really happening at the moment, but I assume that we're working towards, you know, as soon as the borders open, that we can actually take students or host programs overseas again. Yeah, at this stage, we aren't doing anything virtually right now. Is that correct?
Actually, well, we are meeting so a lot of our internships has been postponed just because we were looking at the situation, how it was going to evolve. But to be honest, some has been canceled, but a lot of partners that we have been open to actually do it virtually. So there are opportunities that we're looking into as well. So if the situation would start next semester, for example, in semester 1, 2021, there are opportunities that we might be able to do it virtually instead. It's not always ideal because that's not also the goal of studying sometimes overseas, and it's just to have that experience as well. But at least there's still some opportunities that are opening that we didn't have before, but maybe we're going to keep in the future as well. We'll see.
Right. Yeah. Look, we can just hope for the best, and I guess just be prepared for whenever that, the world changes and opens up again. But as this is, the environment that we're in currently, and the fact that we're doing these remote sessions right now, what other advice can you give or offer on how we're handling remote study at ANU Law? Are all of our courses online? Or is there a mix? Can you just sort of tell us about what students would expect currently if they come and study, and what the remote situation is like?
Yeah, so at the moment, because of social distancing, we have to be very mindful of to keep to the social distancing. That can be hard in a normal classroom. So the way that we decide to do it for this semester, and was also the case for last semester, is that all the courses are taught online. So your lectures are taught online, so they're recorded as well. So if you can't log into a certain time because you're in different time zone or a different state, or you have other commitments or whatever, you can still do it and listen to your lectures afterwards. And we have also the tutorials, which are small groups, and that is for us at the moment is a mix. So we do offer, you can just purely do it online. So that's for all our courses that are offered online. And some of our core courses, we do offer the option either do it online or on campus if you actually want to come and just meet people and actually do it face to face. So we do have that option, but it's an option. It's not compulsory. So at the moment, if you want to purely study online this year, you can. From next semester, we are looking into, as soon as we can, as soon as the regulations and restrictions have been lifted, to put it back on campus. But surely, more than likely, in semester 1, 2021, we will have at least an option of doing it online as well, because we know that not all the states will lift the regulations and the restrictions at the same time, and countries as well. So we'll have that offline option.
So we're just trying to be as flexible and adaptive as possible. Is that
exactly? Yeah.
And I think there's also support provided through the different student societies. So David, can you tell us, is there anything specific that LSS is doing as part of this, new remote studying environment?
Yeah, of course. So I guess in terms of more of the connecting with, with your cohort and things like that, we're still doing events virtually. So there's always an opportunity if you're really, keen to learn about a certain area in the law that we're running an event on. Certainly can connect virtually and hear great speakers about certain whatever aspects of the law that we happen to be running it on. In terms of how we are trying to support students continually, we put out a well-being guide recently. So we put out material to help students sort of guide them during this period as well. Make sure that everyone is sort of taking care of themselves and not working themselves too much during this very difficult period. But yeah, so there's still definitely opportunities to connect, and we'll try our best in any way possible to support students during this time.
And Peyton, for PAL program, what kind of activities are you guys running or starting for students in this new environment as well?
So last semester, actually, for the first time, we ran our PAL sessions online. This semester, we're offering a bit of a hybrid model. So we've got kind of half the sessions online, half the sessions in person. Other than that, we've done a few sessions specifically targeted at adjusting to life studying from home, just to give students some kind of practical tips and tricks on how to make that adjustment a little bit smoother.
And so Molly, you finished off, is that right? Finished off your degree in this new virtual world. So that would have been probably a real throw, like not, being at the tail end of your studies and just about to complete. So do you have any advice on how you, I guess, dealt with the situation, or coped, and what sort of things you did, I guess, to make sure that you did finish on time, and just as some advice for people who are obviously going to be experiencing this going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how useful it will be given that, it was my sort of first time experiencing that sort of thing as well. I think in some ways I was lucky because I had, throughout the course of my degree, already been listening to a lot of my lectures through the recordings that were available because, I'd be at work during the day and so I wouldn't always be able to attend said lectures, even though I'd go to the tutorials when I could. So I think for me, it was just a matter of setting up sort of a rough schedule for yourself and saying, okay, at this day or at this time, I'm going to listen to this lecture, and sort of, even if you don't have that on-campus timetable, creating sort of a mini timetable for yourself. I also found it really valuable to, engage in sort of the social events, I suppose, that were available. I was lucky because, having already been at law school for a couple of years, I built up a little bit of a circle of friends, and even though we weren't necessarily doing the same courses together anymore, just staying in contact with them and, sort of going through the motions as much as you can when you're not sitting next to them in a class or meeting them on campus for lunch or whatnot, also really helps sort of maintain that sense of community that I think is really important when you're doing a law degree, sort of having people walking through it with you. So it was challenging, but it was also rewarding in its own way to know that, even though the context had shifted and it was a different platform, that it was still very, very doable.
Excellent. Thanks, Molly. I think this is answering a couple of our questions here on the Q&A as well. David, do you have any, I guess, tips or tricks that you can add as far as remote learning goes and kind of this, the new environment and academic challenges that you're facing?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, as Molly said, it's definitely a new experience, I think, for everyone. So for me, I think I'm still learning. But in terms of how I sort of got through it, like in last semester, when everything moved online, I sort of moved back to Melbourne, was locked out, and it was all a bit of a mess. But in terms of how I sort of got through that sort of period, I think, as Molly said, making sure to keep in touch with people, I think is something that's really important, and always, having people around you, who you can ask for support, and I think there's nothing worse than going through law school and having questions that you can't get answers to. So I think what's really important is not to feel isolated, and the best way to do that is just to stay in touch, which is easier than ever nowadays, and just to put that effort into maintaining those connections so that you can have people around you to support you and support other people when the time comes.
And Peyton, how about you? Anything to add there?
Pretty much just echoing what both Molly and David said. Other than that, just in terms of adjusting, in PAL, we often talk about kind of having a study environment at home. So making sure that you've got a bit of a setup and try and get up in the morning and get out of your pajamas, as hard as that may be. That definitely makes it a lot easier to get that sort of sense of normalcy.
I think you might be able to see this question in the chat. So with regards to this, to remote studying, what you guys are talking about creating a schedule, what would you say is your typical workload / schedule as, we'll put it for you and David, Peyton, as an undergraduate student?
So when I started out, I definitely put a lot more hours into university because I thought that the ideal law student spent 80 hours a week behind a desk and didn't sleep because they were so busy doing their readings. As you get a bit more comfortable with your degree, I think you can study smart and not hard. So I think it's perfectly realistic to kind of have a Monday to Friday schedule and then kind of use your weekends to do assignments every now and again. Personally, I really like to stick to that sort of 7 a.m. until probably 6 p.m. Do as much work as possible during the week. And then outside of those hours, I still have a social life, still do sport. I think it's really important to maintain that balance.
How about you, David?
Yeah, completely agree with Peyton. I think having that, not just saying I'm going to study all day today. I think that's not a great approach because you may end up doing no study in that entire day. So I think personally for me, how much a day might look, I think in terms of scheduling study, I think that is always, for me, always having targets for a day as to what I want to learn, as to what I want to, cover. If it's, certain tutorials, certain content that I'm finding really confusing, that's sort of how I organize my day in terms for study, rather than, piling on multiple courses. I might focus on one course and one aspect of that course. And when I'm done with that, that's okay. I can move on to do other things. So I think scheduling breaks, scheduling other activities to do during the day is so important. And don't feel overwhelmed by just study.
Right. And would you all say, I mean, you can be very quick and honest, is it easy or difficult to balance study, work, and your social life as a law student? How would you say? Molly, you've done all three, and assuming you got to socialize?
I did. It's doable. It's definitely doable, but I think you need to go into it knowing that you're going to have to be very organized about it, or at least committed. There's going to be times where, I think like Peyton and David was saying, there's things you're going to need to be focusing on. So, at certain times this semester, you might know that you really need to buckle down and do a bit of extra study because there's an exam coming up. And there's other times where you go, oh, well, this is a bit of a quieter period, so I can probably afford to do more social stuff here. So just being aware of that situation, and also being aware that there's going to be times where you need to do some planning to get that balance, and that it's not just going to happen all on its own. Just having that understanding makes it a lot easier, I think.
You guys, David, Peyton, you have social lives as well?
Well, not anymore in Melbourne, but when that used to happen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No, that's not true at all. I do still keep in touch with people in Canberra and everything like that. So I do put in effort to make sure that we're well connected, and being part of the LSS has helped me. It's meetings every week, and etc. So that's, even if that's a bit more of a formal setting, certainly forces me at least to connect with other people and not be bogged down in thinking about studies too much. But in terms of balancing, I think, echoing what Molly said, being organized and knowing that, prioritizing and, emphasizing at different points in time what's important to you and what's, a priority is certainly something that will stand you in good stead, I think, to make sure that you're not overwhelmed while also keeping a balance between different things. And, balance doesn't mean, I suppose, 50-50. It can mean at times 10-90, at different times. So exam times, it might well mean 10%, socializing, 90% study, if that's the situation you're in. But obviously, ideally, you want to maintain something not as extreme as that, but, as the situation demands, sort of be able to meet that as it comes.
Oh, Peyton, I didn't want to cut you off, but you did say you try to give yourself weekends, but I just wanted to see if we could quickly answer a couple of questions that have come through the chat. Maybe, and Peyton, maybe I'll let you answer this one. What do you think makes ANU Law different to other law schools in Australia? If you've done some research, it sounded like, going from Gold Coast, you would have considered maybe some other options too, but also open to Molly and David to answer.
Really good question. I think for me, I have lots of friends at law schools on the Gold Coast, and they're all great schools as well. I think for me, a big draw card with ANU was obviously the reputation, but the actual academics themselves. Whenever I get a textbook that I read in a course, 9 times out of 10, the author of the textbook is the academic who's actually teaching my course. So I guess there's a lot of access to really world-leading academics here at ANU. And there's just, so many great ideas kind of floating around. And like what Molly was talking about before, if you're interested in doing further research, I think the opportunities here are really second to none.
Excellent, thanks. David, you could have gone to Uni Melbourne, you said? You chose ANU? Yeah,
so I think at the time I wasn't thinking of this aspect, so I guess this is in retrospect, but in terms of what my experience has been at ANU Law, that I think has been something that I probably wouldn't have gotten if I studied elsewhere, is that, and similar to Peyton's point, but I think a little bit different, is not so much the academics, which is obviously they obviously are very important and they're amazing, but another aspect that I found on a more personal level were tutors in courses that work in government departments, who work in places that they wouldn't otherwise be working if they weren't in Canberra. I think having access to that, while also having access to all the other things that other big cities will have, commercial law firms, etc. I think having that government aspect, if you're really keen on pursuing something in the public sector, is something that's really beneficial, because otherwise you don't get to hear about what was your role working on the COVID-19 response? That's something you probably wouldn't be able to ask if you studied in Melbourne, but it's something that, you know, I've been able to ask tutors who have been working on that. And you know, the border closures and everything like that, it's been interesting engaging with them in that aspect. So that's something I found quite unique in my experience here.
And I probably wouldn't add anything to that. I think
Okay,
it's been covered.
Yeah, I do know that I believe we've hit our time, because I think 12:30 to 1:15. I know that there are plenty of questions that are coming through the chat now, but I would say that a lot of them, that from what I can see, they can be answered if you email us. I'll just put into the chat here for those who might not be able to see, or actually no, we've already provided, I think, the links and the emails. I'll just put that in here now. But I do want to thank everyone for joining today. I'm sorry we didn't get through all the questions that kind of came rolling in at the end. But please do review our other sessions that we'll have up on our website very soon. And you can always email us, and I'll provide that here, inquiries.law@anu.edu.au. But I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and we do hope that we will see you all at some stage here at ANU in person or virtually again. But please do get in contact if you have any other questions. All right, thanks everyone. Have a good one.